What's up, everyone? It's Kyle. Today, as you can see, we are on ChatGPT, rhyming to start the video. Okay, Dr. Seuss in the building, alright? But more specifically, ChatGPT in the building. And what that means is open source AI that can have access to any information on the web from 2021 and before. And I realized that this is actually super useful to get closer to God and to essentially just understand God more fully, right, in a very easy and accessible way. Because basically what this does, it summarizes articles into an easy to read format, and there's a certain strategy to do this to make sure that you are asking the right questions to get the best answers. Now, that being said, let's just go right into the first example, and that is pretty much asking about context in a certain chapter or verse, any book of the Bible, right? Um, so specifically, if you want to learn about, the author that was writing it, if you want to learn about the author's intention with writing it, like who they were writing it to, what time period they were writing it in, things like that. If you have questions about overall what the verse or the scripture is trying to say, then you can look it up right here, and I'll just do a quick example so you can see. So if I'm wondering what is the context of the book of I don't even know. I was about to spell wrong. Revelation chapter, let's say 1. So, asking this question right here, you can see already with an answer. That's how crazy this is if you haven't seen it already. If you have, then you know how it goes, right? Has a very detailed response, and if it's not detailed enough, you can just ask it to elaborate on it pretty much. So it's very cool. As you can see right here, I'll just read for a second. The book of Revelation, also known as the Apocalypse, is the final book of the New Testament in the Bible. It is a book of prophecy that is filled with symbolic imagery and language. Chapter 1 of the book of Revelation begins with a greeting from the author, John, to the 7 churches in the region of Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey. The chapter goes on to describe a vision that John receives in which he sees Jesus Christ in his glorified self or form and hears him speak. The chapter also contains a description of the 7 spirits of God and the letters of Jesus dictates to the 7 churches. So let's say right here, if this isn't already enough to understand what you just read, because I mean, we've all been there where we read some sort of chapter or verse and we're like, well, what is that even trying to say? I know if you've been reading like the Old Testament, me personally, I have not finished the Bible, but the Old Testament so far with what I've read, a lot of it is confusing, right? Um, a lot of it is confusing. So this is super helpful because overall, if you have a certain question about what it's, talking about at all, you can go right here. Let's say it's not enough for you. You can be like, oh, how do we know that John was writing this? What sources are you getting it from? So I could also ask this just to be sure of the answer, right? Because you also want to be careful whether or not there's conflicting articles about this kind of data or information, because that could be the case very well, and especially theological questions, which I'll get into in just a second, because with something like theological questions, oftentimes it's interpretation of the verses, and so that means that the chat GPT, right, it may have conflicting opinions that it's working with, so you pretty much just need to make sure that you're verifying the source that it's getting it from. And as you can see right here, it's getting very, very in depth, right, and you can go as far as you want with it. But now that brings me on to, the second point, which is the theological questions. Let's say, you're kind of losing your faith because of some sort of question that you aren't able to answer. You can just ask it right here. Let's say, why does God allow evil, right? And then, as you see right here, it's coming up with a very in-depth overview, it looks like. Also, by the way, I got a video on it myself, so quick round of applause, quick shout out to my channel, right? Oh shoot, hold on, where am I going? I'm clicking the wrong buttons. I could just click on right here. Boom, we back to the screen and you can see. But feel free to check that out if you're liking this video so far, and also like and subscribe and help your boy out, and also help yourself out, because I'm trying to deliver the right kind of content every single day, every single, whenever I can, right? Every 4 days roughly. But now, we can see that it answered this as well. And then let's say that that's not enough, right? Let's say you've been battling a couple of questions. Let's say you want to, answer a question about, oh, well, well, I just said, my fault for all that repetition. Let's just go right into it. How or what is the cosmological argument for God? So this basically will go in depth in like the universe and how it ties into God, because overall this can build up your faith as well. If you're ever questioning or doubting, ChatGPT can help a lot with that, and also with gaining context and further information on the passage that you're reading. That covers two of the points, but another one might be the evidence, right? So the evidence is very important because you need some sort of establishment on why you should believe in Jesus, right? You should be able to, if you're into like apologetics, you should be able to argue to other people for Jesus's existence. And if you can't, that's fine, because overall it's faith. But faith can be built up through this evidence seeking, and that's what we can get into right here. Let's ask it, what is the historical evidence that Jesus Christ existed? And again, we can see how fast it really compiles all of this data. And overall, it's very helpful because let's say you just read a passage, let's say that you just have this doubt pop up, or let's say that you're debating someone about the evidence. You can pull out your phone, look up right here, you can see the link, HTTPS, all that stuff. I don't even know, like the slash, all that, right? But then chat.openai.com, all you'd really have to look up is ChatGPT, and it'll show up like probably the first link. Make an account, very easy. It's not paid. It's not paid whatsoever. There are paid versions similar to this, like Right Sonic, which is a similar thing. But from this, you can get any information from 2021 and before. Just make sure that you verify, the information. Like we could ask right here, what are the sources that you used for this? And it's gonna answer it. Oh, I guess this one wasn't able to do it, I guess, for some reason. Let's see why. What are the sources that you use for this? Okay, so this, all right. It kind of, keep in mind that it's gonna be general with what it's saying all the time. So it opened up by saying, like, I don't have personal experience, but then it goes based off of what scholars have said. Depending on the questions that I've asked in the past, it's also just referenced like certain articles, and again, you can confirm all of these ideas through that. I very much recommend it. But this is overall a great way to just understand the scripture better, get closer to God, because so many times we find ourselves confused in our faith, confused in what we're reading, and it's just so simple and available, accessible to us on our phone, on our computer. And overall, I hope that this video has helped you. If it has, again, like and subscribe. I already did that, advertisement. So that being said, I'm out. Be well, be blessed. Peace.